going on?
Oh, it is bitbudha back again with another episode of the Blacks and Cybersecurity podcast. And today we have Markeisha Snaith, who is in AI security governance, and also she is a CEO, and also she helps other people get deeper into the cyber industry. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah, thanks so much. Pleasure to be here. So yes, I am in the AI security governance space. In addition to that, for the last 6 years, I have been the founder and CEO of a company called Sire, spelled Xire. We first started off, our main focus was really on helping people get into the tech space. At that particular time, especially during the pandemic, a lot of people were finding that they really wanted to enter the tech industry, tech and cybersecurity industry. So that's pretty much, kind of how I got started with that particular business. And since then, I mean, we've been able to help hundreds of thousands of people get into the space. And it's not just tech. Like, majority of our clients are in the tech space, are looking to get into the tech space. But overall, we have helped people from different industries as well. The idea is that we want to see more people working, and we want more people to progress in their careers. That's ultimately what it is. And so as career strategists, we come in and we help you align the work that you've done with what the industry is looking for by positioning you correctly. And so that's what I've been doing the last 6 years. And in addition to that, working with other organizations for their leadership. So, once people are in those positions, what does it look like in terms of really growing within that organization and helping to bring other people up with you too?
Wow, that's like amazing. And you said that you've been doing it for the past 6 years, but even before that, let's go way back, right? What is your background? Like, where like are you from? What was your like childhood like? How did you? Because now we see you all full grown, you're doing big stuff, right? But where did you start off at?
Yeah, sure. It's funny you asked that question. I tend to be a little bit more private about those things, but I think I've said this somewhere. So I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, born and raised in Nova. I went to Loyola University, Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland. But before I even got to Loyola University, Maryland, I had done 2 years at Old Dominion University. I was on the track to do biology so that I could go into medical school, and I could not pass chemistry to save my life. And so at that time, my mom was very, very sick. And so I was only able to do 2 years at ODU. And I made the decision that I wanted to transfer out and go to a school that was much closer to where I was from, the DMV area. And so I stumbled upon Loyola University, Maryland. I love that it was a Jesuit school. And I applied, worked really hard on my transfer letter, and I got in. And when I first started, again, I was on the biology track, but that chemistry, it really held me up. And I had a professor, tell me that maybe this is not the route that I should go. And at that time, because I had to take prerequisites, the prerequisites at Loyola were theology. And so I was getting the exposure to the theology classes, and they weren't like, I think some people think like, that could be boring. Like, absolutely not. Like, the classes were so unique and so fun. Some of the classes we were taking were like heaven versus hell, the book of Genesis, why are we here? Who is God? Overall religions, theology versus philosophy versus science, like such really cool classes that we were able to take. And so for me, I said, you know what? I don't care what I get my degree in. If I'm going to get a degree now that I'm not going the medical route, at least let me do something that allows me to understand why I have the belief that I have. A lot of us as we're aging, we follow the route of our parents. So if our parents are Christian, we're Christian. If our parents are Muslim, we're Muslim, but we don't really quite understand the reasons behind that until you get to a point where you can question it, right? And so I was at that point of questioning why I believed in the faith that I believed in, and actually getting my bachelor's in theology helped me to understand that. And I'm so happy that I did the degree that I did, because I was less worried about what my future looked like, and I was just worried about the in that moment. And even now, I mean, I think this is like a testament. It doesn't matter what you get your degree in. It doesn't matter what you go to school for. That doesn't mean that that is going to end up being that career choice that you make. Things can change. You can always start over. And so at that time, because I had been working in the, in healthcare, because that was the route I wanted to take, I was able to get exposure to technology. And it wasn't something that honestly I was really thinking about doing. It kind of just fell in my lap. And when I went to work for CBP, I eventually was put in a position of doing SharePoint development. And, from there, I was like, okay, this is cool. I figured it out. And I ended up getting into cybersecurity. And from there, it's just been cybersecurity since. And I've gone from working as an ISO, I've gone from working as, somebody in risk management framework and GRC to security architecture. And now I'm able, which I'm so blessed, I am able to combine my security architecture knowledge with my GRC knowledge, put that together, and this is where you have AI security governance. So I'm finally able to say I love the work that I do, and I'm very passionate about it. And yeah, I think overall that's like the gist of my background. Not to bore you all, because obviously everybody has a long story, but that's just a sped up version of where I am today.
Wow. And it's beautiful to see and hear as well, because I feel like, especially now, when you see someone who's in cyber, right, you're like, oh, like in our head, this popped out the womb, like, oh, cyber, but that's not always the case, right? Like there really is like a different treks and different routes that people take to get to this place. So that's definitely like a beautiful journey. And what would you say is like something in tech that has surprised you, especially in like the cyber and the like GRC space? Like, what's something like from, if you step out like at the forest, right, and now you're in the forest, right? What's something that you thought about, you didn't think about before, but now that you're in it, you're like, wow, like I would have never thought this in like GRC or cyber.
It's a really great question. What has surprised me? You know what? I would say, and I think people say this a lot. There's a lot to learn. Cyber is not linear. There are a lot of divots and a lot of specializations. And I think a lot of people assume, even like, what you were kind of alluding to, assume that it's only one side. It's the technical side. It's the coding. It's the engineering. It's the developing. Not the case, because I've been on both the technical and the non-technical. And I thrive really in the non-technical, which is the risk management framework, the governance, risk and compliance, even bits of AI, project management, program management. And I thrive because I'm able to understand the technical, but I'm also able to break it down in non-technical verbiage. And I can speak to leadership, and I can speak in ways that maybe not a lot of people can, right? And so that's how I know, like, that's my wheelhouse, because I'm more client facing, right? I'm the one that comes in, I figure out your problems, and I'm able to, speak to those things. And so I think that was most surprising before I got into the space, not knowing how many specializations there were, and that you can do so many things. And I think there's a place for everyone if you explore that. Like, if you don't get stuck in the, oh, I have to learn coding. And I want to say too, and again, I don't have a degree I don't have a tech degree. I don't have a cybersecurity degree. So I'm not sure what they're teaching now when you get into computer science and cybersecurity, but I can really assure you they are not talking about all the different specializations that you can do. And so a lot of people are missing out on opportunities, if you ask me. So
yeah, because it's, as you said, it's not as linear. And it's always amazing hear people like, oh, I want to get in cyber. But like, bro, like, what does that mean? Like, it's like
what do you want to do?
like 1,000 different roles. Even a couple of days ago, I was watching a documentary about this ransomware that the government had, right? And there's literally people who like really study USB ransomware. No, not ransomware worms. Like it wasn't USB worms, but that's specifically their entire job. And I'm like, geez,
Wow. That's so niche.
it's so niche, right? So it's definitely been fascinating seeing all of the different roles. But so what drew you towards GRC, right? Because there's a lot of different roles of cyber. You could go towards the more technical side, the manager side, the offensive side, the defensive side. But you was like, GRC is a place I want to set my flag and like build out my brand and business. What is it about the GRC space that made you pick that specifically out of all of the different roles in cyber?
Honestly, it's where I landed, right? It's where the cards fell. It's where God led me to. When I was getting into cybersecurity, I had met somebody who allowed me to sit in on their risk management framework course. And from there, it was an 8-week course. And this is actually how I thought about my business, was from this particular individual. During that course, at the very end, that is where you take everything that you've learned and you go out and you apply for jobs. That's generally how these courses work, right? These boot camps, these courses, etc. And so I found a gap between people learning the material and people actually being able to put that information on their resume in the right way, to submit their resume, to actually interview for the position and to land a job. Like there was a huge gap because there was about 20, 25 people in the class. I want to say one person had a job lined up before the class ended, but they were also getting a master's in cybersecurity policy. There was another person who was interviewing, and then there was me that came in, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like most people don't know how to go from what they just learned to landing the job. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to be my first like real testimonial. So I reworked my resume, put it out there, interviewed, and I was nervous when I was interviewing because I'm like, listen, I don't know if I know what I'm talking about, because this was a whole new realm for me. We're talking about cybersecurity, but I knew as much as I knew. And another thing, as I always tell people, being able to speak well can get you in a lot of rooms and it can get you a lot of opportunities. And so I ended up getting like 3 to 4 job offers within the 3 weeks of interviewing. And I ended up accepting a position ultimately with NASA. And that things took off from there because I was in the risk management framework realm, and I quickly learned that work wasn't the work I wanted to do. I did not want to do the work where I had to write control statements or where I had to collect the evidence and, degree leadership and chase after people. I didn't like doing that work, but I knew that it was a way to get me into cybersecurity. So I ended up quickly being able to get out of the federal space because the federal space had that type of work for the specialization that I was doing. And when I went over to the private sector, that's where I learned about GRC. And I was like, wait, RMF, GRC, they're not the same thing. Here, I'm getting exposed to third-party risk management. I'm getting so much different exposure to different regulations, to different controls. And from there, it just kind of like, I felt like that was my wheelhouse and I stayed in it. And when I ended up getting positions as a security architect, that took off for me. I started learning more technical principles behind things. I was able to take my control knowledge and apply it to that particular role. Um, and then just now, because governance is such a big thing when it comes to AI, it's kind of positioned me into doing that AI security governance work. And so it was work that I had already been doing, but it was considered something else. AI, whole phase came about. So I would say I was kind of just led that way. It wasn't anything that I said, oh, that's what I want to do. But I never also asked the question or even said I want to get into cybersecurity. Those words never had to roll off my lips. I just landed in cybersecurity. I've been very blessed to have done so. And so I just let the chips fall where they're supposed to fall.
Wow. And it's beautiful that you took advantage of those cards and opportunities, because someone else could have been given the same exact opportunity that you gave, right? But it probably wouldn't have made as much as you did with it, right? So it's like opportunity means like someone who actually has like ambition, right? Because there's opportunity and then there's ambition. But once you combine them both, that's when you have beautiful things happen. So in the GRC AI space, right? I want to ask you a bit more about AI, because this has been like the hottest kid on the block for like the past, all right, this is sort of topic. It kind of reminds me, I remember when like COVID was first happening, right? And they told us about it. I thought it was only like a week and then it'll be done, right? And then it was like a whole year, right? Mm-hmm. Almost the same with AI. When people say, oh, ChatGPT, I'm like, oh, AI, cool, it's gonna die down, right? It's been like years and nothing has like died down yet, right? So, but what are your views on the space currently, right? Because you are in like AI security governance, right? So I want to think about OpenClaw, because I think that's a new one that has like popped up. But all these new models coming out almost every single week, and then we have this benchmark, and then it beats this benchmark. It's like you're the top AI for like 20 minutes, pretty much, right? But what are your views on how quickly the space is changing, and how do you stay abreast with that, right? Because if you're trying to govern these stuff, and every week there's a top model. How do you even stay like abreast of it all?
That's a really great question. So, for those that may not necessarily know, but AI, machine learning has been around for a very long time. I will say what is new is the generative AI. And it's an opportunity for people who haven't been so technical to get into or to get exposure into AI and the things that AI can do for you. But it's evolving very, very quickly. And I want to say it's evolving because obviously we're, just the world that we live in is very technology driven. It's very capitalist driven. And so the idea is to make money, right? And so these companies have been really pushing to develop these products. Anything AI, doesn't matter what they're developing. They've been pushing to develop these products for use by consumers, these major companies. And so because of that push, it has now caused an influx of so many different tools that can be utilized. And with that influx means it's it introduces a lot of security risk and a lot more security issues overall. And so I will say that this AI landscape is evolving very, very quickly, much quicker than the world can keep up with. And it's funny because during the pandemic, I would say that's when cloud was like super, super popular. Like companies were so pressed to hire anybody who understood anything cloud, right? If you knew AWS, you're hired. If you knew GCP, you're hired, etc. And so I think now we're at a phase where if you know AI, any type of AI exposure, you understand controls, security, regulations, risk. If you understand that, you're getting hired. And it's simply because companies cannot keep up. And that's just what it is. You also have the pressures of your investors and your board of directors coming down on executives, leadership overall, and saying, hey, we have competition over here. Why are we not able to keep up with our competition? And so now that's a trickle down effect into the rest of the organization, where everybody is in this need for speed, right? And it's like, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And we need 50 tools this year and we need to onboard those tools. And then you have the holdup of, and I hate to say it's a holdup, but it is, you have the holdup of privacy and legal and product and security saying, hold up, you want all of these tools, but we have to assess these tools to make sure that it meets the requirements of our security posture. But the board of directors, the investors, they don't ever want to hear that. And it's a lot of pressure, especially when you're performing, when you don't have a lot of resources to get that job done. So I just, just being in the space, it is just, everything is happening so quickly. And to keep up, we are just having to utilize the tools for like go out and assess a lot of tools at once so that we understand what these tools can do. We have to actually get in the nitty gritty of it and use them ourselves. We have to, and as this is something you should be doing regardless, but you should be subscribed to newsletters. You should always be making sure that you're, in the know when it comes to technology, anything that's happening across that, even finance too, because it can speak to some technology as well. Making sure that you're going to networking events, making sure that in addition to that, you are also surrounding yourself with people who are interested in this same arena as well. Asking your managers at work if you can step into this space and just do some type of work to help them out. So you always need to be wanting to learn and wanting to educate yourself. That is going to be the best way that you can keep up. But even the ones that think they're keeping up, they also realize, and I hope they do realize, that there's so much like we're here. I feel like we're all here. Nobody's like here, and I think that's the realization that the time is now to get on board, because you really don't want to get left behind. And you should be doing something every single day to ensure that you understand what this technology looks like.
I love the way you broke that down, because when you think about AI, not only from this lens of a consumer, right? You got to think about the board of directors, the shareholders, the people making these AIs, the programmers, the CEO. It's like a whole collage of people, and everyone's rushing. It's like everyone is rushing just to like keep abreast. Because the thing is, if you don't keep abreast, as you said, oh, that other company over there, they're using this AI tool. What are we doing, right? So it's like you're trying to keep abreast, and it's like a constant. It's like capitalism, but like on steroids.
Yes, absolutely.
But hyper focused, and like the tech industry in general is like that, and it's very fascinating. But it's beautiful that you're able to keep abreast with it. As you said, you got to stay educated, stay open to like learning, and stay open to like any resource to learn more. And also wanted to actually speak about the CEO part, right? Earlier you said once you know how to speak properly and clearly, a lot of doors open up, right? And we can see that you speak like very clearly, right? So of course we know that it's helped you on your journey, but how did you develop that skill set? Like, was it like from you since you were young, you were just like saying, hey, I'm the boss, like you did, like is it just like how or when did you develop this skill set to speak so clearly?
Honestly, and not to come across like in any bad malicious way, I honestly just think I was born with the ability to speak this way. I was very curious growing up. I'm an only child, so I did get all the attention. And just speaking to like my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, they'll tell me You know, when you were growing up, you asked a lot of questions, Markeisha. Like nobody could get around you. I've always been that way too, even now, right? And so I always wanted to know how something worked. I wanted to know what your reasoning was behind your decision. I wanted to know why I couldn't do something. Those were always the questions I was asking growing up. And at a very, so I say that to say, I think that is aligned with somebody who is aware, someone who can advocate for themselves, someone who can speak up, someone who has understanding. And then I will say too that English was really one of my favorite subjects growing up, and it just happened to be that I was really great at it. I believe, and this is just I think from what I was told, reading like my mom read a lot to me growing up, and I started to like read and write like when I was like super young. Like as soon as I could get a pencil in my hand, I was writing very well. I was reading well. I was always advanced, like almost 2 grades ahead when it came to the reading and the English part. And so I want to say like that definitely contributed to it. But then I also at the same time too, I think when you put yourself out there, that is important as well, because now you're able to advocate for not just yourself, but for other people. People also want to start choosing you to do things, to be like the leader of the group and things of that sort. And then you start getting around too. Like I was always around a lot of adults growing up. Wherever my mom went, I went. So when she was with her best friend, I was with her too. And I was sitting there while they were talking, and I was probably just soaking up all that information. So I think all of those different things, you know, really contribute to me being able to speak well. But I always say too, it is very important that reading, like that you learn to read and you learn to write at a very young age. And even those parents who get their children into learning multiple languages, like that is top tier. Like those people will always be like far advanced. I even say too, getting your kids to understand not just the reading, the writing, and the language, but also math. I think those are really great subjects to throw your child in and to make sure that they master that at a very young age. So I think it's just honestly like the way I was brought up and just the exposure I had. And my mom made sure she always kept me in those IB schools, like any school that can do like, so there's AP and there's IB, and I did the IB track at the schools that I went to. So I always was like one of those students that had to, I forgot what it's called, but like you don't go to your actual school that's in your area. You have to get accepted to go to those other schools. And so she just really made sure that was a part of what happened growing up. And I will always thank her for that, because I'm here, you know, in my position because of those things that she did.
You know, so definitely shout out to your parents, because as you said, having that instilled at you as such a, because firstly it's a God-given gift, pretty much. You pretty much said like I've always been her, pretty much, right?
That's why I had to start with, you know, not to come off in a negative way, but everybody has, they're blessed with certain gifts, and I think that's one of my gifts, honestly.
No, that's like beautiful, but also for your parents to like notice that and basically nurture that trait is a beautiful thing as well. So speaking about God-given gifts, you went to school for, well, your major's in theology, I believe you were saying. So tell us a bit more about your theological your theological views or your Christian views and all of that stuff, because there had to be something that drew you towards that so much. So tell us a bit more about all of that.
Oh, great question. Grew up religious, grew up Christian, Baptist. A little bit later down the road, my mom did non-denominational, again, followed the same track. I will say that over time, there was a part in my life where God probably did not come first. And when I say come first, what I mean is you're in prayer, you're going to church, you're with community, all of you have a relationship with God. I have always known God, but in terms of my relationship, it hasn't always been there. And so I will say that it wasn't until, it was a while, but it wasn't until I want to say last year even that I really got back into church. So I had stopped going to church when I went to college. And so from that time up until 2025, I was not in the church. But again, I still knew that God was my foundation, but I did not have that relationship that I should have had with him at that time. I think it is really important for people to explore their religion, their spirituality, their beliefs while they can. I think it's important that people understand why they believe the things that they believe. And I think that it can also help your purpose, to understand your purpose and to understand your identity of who you are, which I find a lot of people, I was talking about this yesterday in another podcast, people don't have an identity. And that is where I say during that time, I wouldn't say I was lost, but I could say maybe I wasn't lost completely, but I could say technically I was a little bit lost, because not having that relationship with God meant that I had always been relying on myself and the things that I believe to have gotten, me to a job and things like that, right? Without saying, oh, you know what? First comes God, second comes everything else. Over time, I have learned the salaries I make is from God. The positions I'm in, it's from God. The home I live in, it's from God. The relationships and the people I'm able to meet, God has placed them in my life, whether they stay or they go, it is for a purpose and for a reason. And so, for me, it's just now I'm, back in church. I volunteer with the church. I've learned my gifts, which I'm just so fortunate to have learned. And, it has really allowed me to understand my purpose more. And that is that I'm in a position to help people, but I'm also in a position to be a voice for people. People are drawn to my voice and the things that I say. And so I have to always make sure in the back of my mind that, people are always watching. So I need to make sure I'm not saying things that I shouldn't be saying that's going to lead them astray, but that I am saying things that's going to help them get from point A to point Z, which is why I love the work that I do here at Sire. And I even love the work that I do in my 9-to-5, because even in my 9-to-5, I am helping people to understand the way things work. I'm helping people to understand what AI is, what governance is. And again, that's just giving people that education piece, which I think is just really, really important. So yeah, again, I'm just so blessed that I took the theology route in getting my degree in theology, which theology means, study of God. And so, I'm very fortunate for that. And if I ever wanted to go back to school, I can always become a minister or whatever I really want to be. But again, just having that foundation is everything to me. And it just goes to show it's so easy for us to get off track. But as long as you're able to get back on track, you're good, you're solid.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Because I was raised, Seventh-day Adventist, right? So I was raised as well. And something I was meditating on like a couple weeks ago, I was thinking about it. Some of the most successful women I know in tech, they're all Christian. What is this common theme or this common line? Let me a bit more in depth. So I have a couple of sisters I'm gonna try and link you with as well. But no, that is definitely beautiful. So outside of AI, faith, what other things do you do in your free time? Or like this way, I would love to frame it. Say you have a week, all your bills are paid, everyone's fed, everything's like solid, right? You don't gotta buy or spend anything, right? What would you be doing with your time and energy?
Great question. So I really enjoy traveling. Traveling really helps me to put things into perspective. It gives me a lot of discipline. It gives me discipline because I'm able to see how other individuals are living. And I love to go into different countries where, so for example, my most recent trip, like international trip, was to Thailand, Singapore, and I got an opportunity to see, the things that we're doing out here, the cars we're driving, the houses that we like, the jobs that we're thriving to go work for. Like everybody's living like in a way different way. Like that stuff that we value here in America is not what everybody else values. And that's what I mean when it says discipline, because every time I come back from an international trip, I'm like, yeah, I got to get more disciplined, right? Or it opens up my mind to see that the things that the worldly things, the worldly possessions, the things that we are told, right, that you cannot take in your afterlife, we put so much into that. And the realization is everything we have, the money, the cars, the clothes, the house, the fancy stuff, none of it's coming with us when the world ends, and whatever you believe in, right? None of that's coming with you. Now, if you believe that you will have those possessions later on because it's given to you in a different type of way, absolutely. But the stuff that you have, like whatever fancy car you're driving now, you're not taking that with you wherever you go in the afterlife. It's not coming with you. And so I love to travel for those very reasons. You also get to see how much healthier the rest of the world is, how much more collaborative the rest of the world is, right? Like that's so meaningful to me. So traveling, top of my list. Cooking as well. I do enjoy cooking, and I love cooking from scratch because I'm a very creative person. So if I am able to have to figure things out and be given an opportunity to experiment, I thrive in those situations. And so when I cook from scratch, honestly, it can go right or it can go wrong. Like you may be following a recipe, you may not be following a recipe. That's why baking is so cool, because one little thing off, it ruins the whole thing when it comes to baking. But that's what I love to do. So I would say those two things definitely in my spare time. Things that really ground me and allow me to just get creative and not think. I mean, in my job and just everything that I do, because I'm always helping people, again, my brain is always on 1,000, right? So if I'm always thinking, it is so nice to finally unwind and just not think anymore.
I definitely second that as well. I feel like, especially for people who were born and raised in the US, you have to travel. It's mandatory. Because I lived in Ecuador in 2024, and I visited IT or Haiti because my family is from there, right? And people, like natural, healthy, wonderful people, right? But it also made me value the states differently. Because in Ecuador, I was dealing with like blackouts there and literally lost jobs because of the blackouts. I was dealing with like every day over there, right? So it's like you get to compare and contrast. But it made me come back to the states with more so like a ambition and veracity. Because I'm like, bro, we have paved roads, we have electricity, we have Wi-Fi. Like, there's no like to me, like there's no there's no
We have we have everything we can think of.
literally. So it made me value the states differently. Of course, there is a pro and a con with it, right? But it definitely made me value the states in a different way. And the like bacon is wonderful to hear about as well. So what is one of your favorite dishes or one of your favorite pastries to make?
Favorite pastry. So I do enjoy making chocolate croissants. Um, Donuts are fun. Apple turnovers are great. And it's funny because tomorrow I'm a part of a baking contest at my apartment complex, right? I'm trying to get money off my rent. They're giving us some money off the rent, but we have to bake an apple pie. And the people that work at the association, they will be the ones sampling and testing it out. And believe it or not, I have never baked an apple pie yet. Now I've done apple turnovers, but never an apple pie. And so tonight, because I haven't had any time, tonight I have to experiment and get it right, because I'm not a super competitive person. Like I always say, if somebody beats me in something, it's just because they were meant to, that they were meant to have that reward, right? For me, I'm just like, then it just wasn't meant for me. Like, I don't care. But I refuse to have somebody say that my food does not taste good. So, so I am going to make sure that they love this apple pie, that they are obsessed with it.
That's so beautiful to even like visualize. Because in my head, it's like you're super GRC techie. Da, da, da. So even visualizing you like baking is such a wonderful scene. So definitely send pictures once you like do that. Because that's cool. That's a cool thing. Because as I've been doing this podcast, people are so multifaceted, right? Because I know it's like Blacks in Cyber podcast, right? But the thing is, we're a lot more than our roles. We're a lot more than our jobs. We're a lot more than all these titles and certifications and degrees. Like, we're a lot more than all of that. And I think you were kind of saying that earlier. When we leave this realm, we're not going to take that. We're not going to take our, God, here's my CompTIA Sec Plus. Like, God is like, what? Like, what is that? Like, that's not the thing that it matters in the physical realm, but in the other realm, it doesn't carry the same weight. And I wanted to say, people who, going back to the traveling stuff, people who pay for experiences are usually more happy than people who pay for things. And I feel like capitalism and marketing and propaganda has made us think that things will bring happiness. But anyone who has bought a phone could tell you that's not, because you buy the newest phone, you like it for like a week. After that, it's like whatever, right? Like it's the same thing with cars.
Yeah.
So definitely having more experiences, like you were saying, like the biggest stuff like that, stuff that's like you have the memory and joy of it, even if like they take all your certs away from you, right? You have the experiences and the memories, which are so like beautiful. And I wanted to ask, speaking about experiences, right? What different tech events have you been to, or what different business events have you been to that have kind of helped you on your entrepreneurial journey?
Ooh, it's a good question. I have been, so I'm very strategic when it comes to the events that I go to, the networking events, the conferences, because one, some can cost a lot of money. And two, some you just don't get anything out of, right? I will say that, and I won't name like any particular event per se that has helped me overall in my career, but just thinking about my most recent events that I've gone to, I went to a conference called Put Data First last year, the end of last year, and it was a conference around AI. And that conference was a really great conference because it got me in the rooms with all C-suite level people. And we were in roundtables and we were majority given speaking opportunities, but I also was able to moderate. And I will say, because I was able to do both, I just got like so much more exposure. It allowed me to, and it wasn't because I was able to like moderate that it got me the exposure. Well, it did give me the exposure, but being in those rooms with people and understanding what they're doing within their organization and realizing that they had questions just as much as I had questions. I was coming there just to soak up the information, but we're talking about CISOs, other CEOs. Sometimes I like don't think of myself as like really at the C-suite level, because when you think about CEOs, you're like, oh, that person's running like a multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar company, right? But at the end of the day, I am a CEO. I am running a company. I am running a successful company. It may not be making that money now, but it is a company where I have team members and people rely on me and other people are coming to me to purchase services. And so, it allowed me to get into that mindset of, you deserve to be here. That imposter syndrome that people talk about that they experience. I experienced that when I was talking to people who have created these AI products and products, and I was like, sorry, I said that twice, platforms and different products. I was like, no way would they want to talk to me. But those were the same people who are like in the same position as me, So it's really important to go to these conferences and these networking events because you never know who you're going to run into. And the more I speak, the more I get introductions to people. Even like GovTechCon from 2024, 2025, being able to speak there was great because it's a lot of people within the Black community, the Black and brown community who come out and they're like, wait, like you look like me and you do this and you can help me get there. And I'm like, yeah. But if you don't get out there and get and get seen, then nobody knows that, I'm just like Bit or I'm just like Markeisha. Nobody knows that because you're not putting yourself out there. And so I would say just going to different conferences and speaking has changed my life. It's the speaking that has been able to really change the trajectory of where I'm at now.
I love that so much. So speaking and showing up is so powerful because, as you said, there's probably like thousands of women, right, who want to be in your role, right, who look like you, right. But the thing is, if you never showed yourself, they would not even know you exist. But once you show yourself, they're like, oh, she is doing it. I'm from the same background. I can do the same thing, right? And that's the thing I love about this podcast as well, because we interview so many different people from our like the melanated Black African space and are like here, right? So it's like all of these different people could see the different person that they're trying to like be in the same industry as, right? And it reminded me of when you were talking about the imposter syndrome. This is key. I feel like it's very important in life, right? To build up your self-esteem and self-image as much as feasibly possible, right? Because imposter syndrome is serious, right? Because it reminded me when I went to this Osaka event in Florida about like 2 weeks ago, right? And then they had they had a CISO brunch, and I was like, what is that? Like, what do CISOs eat, right? I was like, what is that, right? But it's like the thing is, these people are still human, right? They breathe the same air, they have the same exact. Well, they have similar problems that they're dealing with, right? And once you get over this, like, oh, they're a CISO or they're a CEO or they're a millionaire, once you get over that, bro, they breathe the same air. They eat the same type food, right? They make the same type jokes. It's not like as deep as we're making it, right? So I'm like, think about, I feel like, especially with social media now, is so intricate because we already had titles, right? But now we have titles and brands and social media. So when you meet someone, you feel like, oh, they're like so big. And it's like, but it's still human, right? And I feel like that's why it's important to increase your self-esteem as much as you can, to realize, regardless, even if you're not even a technical person, even if you're not even a cyber person, right? You always have your specific value to bring, right? Because even just a kind word, a compliment, a question, even those things, I know, because I know people who moderate and I know people who kind of lead talks, right? If there's no one, even if there's no one engaging, that kind of weighs on them, right? So if you could help their load and like ask them a question or like do this, like all you could help and provide value a million ways, right? It doesn't always have to be like, oh, you're investing $1 million or oh, I'm buying 50 like all these stocks, right? You don't always got to do all that, right? But just showing up, sharing your voice, sharing your energy, sharing your insight, that could open up a lot of doors for you. And also it could open up a lot of doors for people who come after you as well.
I completely agree. Which is something I had to learn. I would say it hit me more probably the end of last year, but it is something where it's like, if you're not giving back in any type of way, then why do you exist? No, sorry. Let me go into my details on this, right? So from a Christian standpoint, when you learn that you are given a purpose, like you're here for a purpose, to serve a purpose. You were created not for yourself. You were created by God to serve a purpose. So if you simply are someone, and I hate to say this, I think people always like, really, Markeisha? If you are a person that simply wakes up every single day, you do things for yourself, like you cook, you go to the gym, you go to work, you do your work, you come home, you go to sleep, you do that all over again. You have to ask yourself, where in that scenario are you doing things for other people? What value are you adding for other people? If you are not adding value to other people, then you are serving yourself, and you are not created and put on this earth to serve yourself. We are meant to be in community with people. We are meant to collaborate. We are meant to help people. That's why when you go to these other countries and you hear that healthcare is paid for, and they care about, like, you're getting massages for free and you're getting free food, and people are sharing their homes with you, like 5 families living together, and you can share your car, and you go in and you put $100,000 together, you build up that person's business, then you go do it over and over and over again. That is a purpose. That is living out a purpose and being of value. So if you are not doing those things, then in my opinion, and I guess a Christian would say this too, then you are being selfish. And I had to learn last year what that meant, because I was never selfish, because I was always helping people. For like the longest time, I've always helped people. I give people my last dollar, right? And I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to get the rest. That's just who I am. But I come to realize that this is why it's so important to know who you are and what you're meant to do, which now I know that I'm meant to be a voice and to share my voice and to help people by speaking, by showing up. And if I don't show up, then nobody's going to hear what I have to say, and I can't change any lives. This is too, in the podcast I was in yesterday, he brought up a great point. He was told that if you start talking about the process, you would help more people. And that had me thinking, this is the issue with the gatekeeping, because we don't talk about the process that we had to go to get to where we're at today. You see people pop up out of nowhere with the flashy cars and showing off their whole house, and spend a day with me as I go shopping and as I travel to Bali. Oh, and by the way, I'm in tech. And I'm just using tech as an example. You can be like, oh, by the way, I'm a doctor. How did you get there? At some point, you need to do people justice by talking about what you truly went through to get to where you're at. Because if you're not sharing your experience, people can't relate to you. And this is the issue. Somebody told me today, the issue is that everybody's just putting on the internet, oh yeah, I'm in cybersecurity. I'm in cybersecurity. I got a degree in cybersecurity. I'm in cybersecurity now. But nobody, and so everybody's thinking, oh, I can just go out and get into cybersecurity. Let me just get the degree, and then I'll automatically get into the tech space. That's not how it works. You have to grind. We're talking about having to do more than what the average person has to do to get into a space that is paying very well and is paying well for a reason. But people need to talk about their journey more so they can be somebody that others can relate to. And I had to learn that I have to start talking about how I got to where I got to. And looks like can you hear me? Okay. I had no issues with it, but at the end of the day, if more people, and I'm saying this because I'm hoping that it's going to catch somebody who's doing the flashiness, the lifestyle, the whatever, talk about how you got somewhere. And I don't mean I applied and I kept applying and I got my skill set. I mean, talk about who in your family was in tech. Talk about the networking event you went to that somebody said, hey, I think you should get into tech. Talk about how the person at your job convinced you that you could do more. Talk about those stuff so you can be more relatable.
I definitely agree that that's like a beautiful thing to do as well. But it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because I feel like some people did. It's like, all right, the bamboo, right? A bamboo, people water it for like years and years and years and years and years, right? And then in a couple weeks, it goes up 40 feet straight in like ear, right? And I feel like sometimes our career or business journey could look similar. Like you were underground this whole time, no one knew who you were. Now out of nowhere, it's six figures, Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, out of nowhere, right? But it's like you didn't show the time where you're being watered as well, right? So I feel like those times are very, you have to show that stuff, honestly. And even me, because I think about it as well, because I feel like I'm still like new in a sense. Like even in this whole cyber, I feel like I'm still a freshman, right, in the school. But even now, I feel like it's important to document my mistakes and the things I've gotten better at, and like the vision that has gotten more clear. So I definitely agree with like everything you're saying. Like sharing the process is a very beautiful thing to do. And also going back to what you were saying at the start as well, these gifts, right? I feel the same as you. I feel like they're from God. Like a majority of what I am and what I do, I'm like, bro, like there's no way the creator would give me this energy only for myself. Like it wouldn't even make sense. Like I have all this energy, it's to share. And so even when I feel like I'm stretching myself, I feel like it's my duty. I feel like I'm not sure. Like this person, I feel like it's my job to share my energy with the world. If not, why would I have all this energy? I don't even have, like the amount of energy I have is more energy than I actually need for myself. Because I'm like a like minimalist. I could just be like just chilling, right? So my energy is to be shared with the world. So I definitely agree with that as well. But it's it's a worthy sacrifice, right? Because the more you share yourself, the more exposed you are. But the more exposed you are, the more people you could help, right? So it's kind of like this. It's like fame in general. It's like this like double edged. It's like, oh, cool. It's like you're sharing people. But then again, now everybody knows your info on the web now. It's going to be there forever. So it's like a double edged sword. But I definitely do agree with like if you have, just share your story in general, right? Because the other thing I feel like people feel like, oh, who would be interested in me, or why would they be interested in this, bro? Like you got to realize you sharing your energy. All right, I'm gonna go do a quick analogy. It's like the energy you have could target a certain. Say you're a blue person, right? Your blue energy could match other people who are blue. Say this person has red energy. Their red energy can match other people who are red, right? But if a blue person is trying to share stuff with the red person, it probably won't resonate, right? So that's why everyone needs to share, so every different light could get their specific frequency that they need, right? So I definitely agree with all of that, honestly. Like it's a beautiful and worthwhile thing to do, just sharing your like journey. So what are your plans for like the future, for like this year, for this decade? Probably, well, that the decade seems so long, especially with AI now. A decade sounds so long, but let's keep it for like this year. What are your plans for the rest of the year?
Yeah, for me, um, really great. It's definitely something I really need to marinate on. But for me, I want to continue growing in the AI governance space. It's my wheelhouse. It's what I love to do. So I would love to just continue to grow, and wherever that takes me, takes me. Also, I would really like to develop an app. It's something that's been on my mind for a while now. It's where I think I want to take Sire. And I've been working a lot with some of my business partners to really get that done. I'm ready to scale up and take it to the next level. Um, what else do I want to do? I think just career wise, I think that's it. Just really hone in on the AI space as a governance person. And I have to add the governance part because again, like you said, there's so much you can do in these spaces. My wheelhouse is governance. So I'm working a lot with, I'm doing a lot of like engineering and coding and coding up some security controls. So I do need to really delve deeper into coding. Absolutely, but still, I do want to develop an app that will be able to change tons of people's lives. And I will continue to show up, and I will continue to also, just be in front of the camera and make sure that my voice is heard. And yeah, I mean, I hope that people, value what we have to say, right? I think that we've made some great points here, but I just really want people to, see the value in that and actually take action.
Yeah, that's like beautiful, honestly. Like everything you have planned is like spot on, like 10 out of 10. Like honestly, I wish we could talk for like a like other hour, but I think we probably have like a minute or two left. But if leave them with like your links, your pages, tell them more about Zaire as well. Just like even with the last few ways that they could contact you, or any events you will be at, or podcasts you'll be at, or anything. There's anything. That's the last things you want to like
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we've gotten into a lot this year at Sire is doing more webinars. So we're doing monthly webinars. Last month, we did a 4-series or 4-part webinar every single week in February, where we just literally gave people the opportunity to come to those webinars and ask any questions about their careers, and we answer them in real time. At the end of this month, so on March 31st, we will be having an AI governance webinar. So if you're interested in AI governance, you should absolutely come to that webinar, because we will also be showcasing something that the team and I have been working on for a while now that will honestly change your life, especially if you're looking to get into the AI governance space. In addition to that, I am working, like I said, I will be working on an app, and all of like any terms of updates will be via my Substack. So one of the things that you can do is, first and foremost, to connect. We are on LinkedIn, and we also are on Instagram. So we are at We Are XIRE. So We Are Sire, again, Sire spelled XIRE. You can find us there. You can also connect with me on my personal LinkedIn by searching Markeisha Snaith. And again, I already know that, they will provide all these links for you all. And then you can also, one of the things I do too, we have a sister company where we teach. So teach tech, teach cybersecurity. I do AI governance. You can definitely go check us out at achieveitpathwaysprogram.com to learn more about what that teaching looks like. And if you don't want to follow us on any of these socials and you just want to send us an email, you can do so too at hello@xire.io, or you can shoot us. You can go to our website at xire.io. So many opportunities, so many ways that you can get in touch with us, to work with us. I'm always accepting new clients. And again, looking forward to changing your life.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. That was a very I love that, because that was a very, not only educational, but a very motivational and inspiring podcast. So I definitely appreciate your time and energy. And yeah, we'll